All right, we're going to get started. Welcome, everyone. It's wonderful to see so many of you here today. My name is Christine Trost. I'm the Executive Director of the Institute of Governmental Studies and also the Director of the Matsui Center for Politics and Public Service. The Matsui Center is devoted to nurturing the next generation of public service leaders. We do this by offering programs that train and mentor and prepare students and even provide work experiences at local, state, and federal levels of government. And we also do that by introducing students to careers, potential careers in or alongside public service. We do that through our democracy camps. Has anybody been a participant in one of our programs, the Matsui Center programs? Just wondering if you want to raise your hand. If you, okay, great. Well, this is wonderful to know that all of the people who are here today are new to the Matsui Center and our programs, and we're excited to share more about what we do and also the tremendous opportunities that are available for you in state and local governments in particular. The students who participate in our programs receive, as part of our programs, professional development and orientation to how to identify and search for jobs in state government in particular, but also local and federal. But we also know that there are a lot of students across campus, many of you, who care deeply about your communities, about this state, about our national federal government, and are also interested in what those opportunities might be. And so that, sharing, serving as a resource for you, sharing information about how to learn more about and access these job opportunities is one inspiration behind this event today. But there's a second inspiration that I want to share with you and tell you a little bit more about. And that is the tremendous need that currently exists for hiring talented, committed, mission-driven individuals for positions in state and local government. And I'm sure that everyone in this room fits that description. California, along with other states in the nation, as well as local communities, are experiencing what is being called a succession crisis. That means there are numerous unfilled state, county, and municipal employee positions, and just not enough applicants for these positions. Public sector openings, job openings in California have more than doubled in the last decade. In 2020, for example, there were 31,000 unfilled state jobs. That's a vacancy rate of about 13%. And while the private sector employment recovered and returned to pre-pandemic levels, this has not been the case for state and local governments. They have not caught up with pre-pandemic levels. Low employment, a tight labor market, and competition with the private sector, along with waves of retirements at state and local government levels and among their workers, as well as early retirements and departures brought on by COVID, have left many positions unfilled. This labor shortage is creating challenges for governments to meet the needs of their residents and to provide public services. And while you may have heard for a need for teachers and firefighters and healthcare workers, there are many other types of workers who are also needed, including engineers, equipment operators, inspectors, social workers, people who work in information technology, and nearly every type of work that makes up the fabric of government services. In 2020, the Department of Developmental Services, Housing and Community Development Department, the Air Resources Board, the Department of Industrial Relations, the Department of Child Support Services, they all had vacancy rates between 23 and 54%, according to the State Controller's Office. So given this context and this situation, we wanted to shine a spotlight on and learn more about the kinds of job opportunities that are open to soon-to-be Cal grads and how you can access them. So the format for today's event comes in two parts. We wanted to offer you with practical advice and support and guidance to those who are curious about state jobs and how to access them. And so we're going to begin with a presentation on how to do this, how to search for and apply for jobs in state government. Following that, we have put together a panel of Cal alums from local government, from state government, who currently work in these positions. And we've invited them to share their pathways into these jobs, the meaning that they derive from these positions and this work, the benefits of public sector employment that they've experienced, and any advice they might have for you, job seekers. We're also going to reserve lots of time for your questions. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Monica Erickson, who is Chief Deputy Director of the California Department of Human Resources, which is also known as CalHR. There's a lot of lingo, a lot of acronyms we've discovered at both the local and state level. CalHR, very important acronym. This is the state agency that's responsible for human resource management of state employees, including issues related to employee salaries and benefits, job classification, civil rights, training, exams, recruitment, and retention. So you have a very big job, Monica. We are so excited that you're here with us. For over 30 years, she has been worked for the state of California, serving in a variety of fiscal and administrative roles. Deputy Director of Administration at the Department of Healthcare Access and Information from 2015 to 2023. She was Budget Officer at the Department of Social Services from 2012 to 2015. She was also Principal Program Budget Analyst and Budget Analyst at the Department of Finance. And I mentioned that because I think it's important for the story that we're going to be sharing with you today to understand that people move around in state government, and where you enter isn't necessarily where you will be for the rest of your life. And you're a great example of that. And so are many of the other speakers here. So we're really thrilled that you can join us today, that you drove all the way down from Sacramento to share this with our students. And please join me in welcoming Monica Erickson.
It's so nice to see all these future leaders and future changers of the world. So I'm going to be like the Army, because I'm going to say state government wants you. Okay, so I'm here to kind of sell state government and why it's so great. I'll just share a little bit of background about myself. So thank you. Okay, yes. And I love my hair in this picture. It doesn't look as good because I'm trying to grow this pixie out. So I'm really having some struggles here. But let's see here. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you. All right. Okay, perfect. Sorry. All right. So, I started with the state in 1989. Although most of you weren't even born at the time. But I do want to share a little bit about my story, because I have to tell you, I didn't complete college. I didn't get a college degree. I only took a couple of years in community college. And I was at a point in my life where I was trying to get a job. Didn't know what I wanted to do with myself. Didn't know if I wanted to continue to go to college or not. So I worked for a temporary agency, and I was constantly getting laid off. And it was very frustrating for me. You know, I was trying to get my own apartment, start my own life, and it was a struggle. So through the temp agency, I actually got into the legislature. I didn't even know what it was about. All as I knew is when I started working there at the temp agency, I had to get into this environment. And why? Is because I was surrounded by an incredible amount of people that were so knowledgeable, so kind and caring, such mentorship. And it just seemed like a family, really. It honestly did. I wanted part of that. So I found my way around through the process, and I got in through the legislature. Well, a couple of years later, a proposition passed, Prop 109. The office that I actually worked at that was part of the legislative arena was the Office of the State Auditor General, which is now today known as the State Auditor. Prop 109 came around and pretty much said, you have to cut so much of a percentage of your legislative workforce. So what did they do? They cut out the state auditor's office. But historically, if you look, every single state has a state auditor. So how was this possible that California couldn't have one? Well, lo and behold, legislation came along and brought it back to life, but made it a civil service organization. So with that said, while I was working there, I actually got a pink slip. I was actually going to get laid off. But the state, being such a great partner with the legislature, said, no, take a test. They started helping us try to figure out how legislative staff could actually transition over. And lo and behold, I got to be a civil servant. So I started out as a messenger, probably one of the lowest positions there, and just worked my way up. But I have to tell you, I worked hard. There was not one job too small. If it was copying paper or stuffing envelopes, I did it to the best of my ability. Not really knowing where I wanted to go. If you would have asked me, what do you want to do for the state? I don't know. I just wanted to get a paycheck and a job at the time. But lo and behold, I just managed to find things that interested me in the state. And I found the Department of Finance. Absolutely fell in love with the work that was done there. And I spent 15 years at that department. And I didn't want to go. It was a lot of work, a lot of pressure, but my life changed where I needed a little bit of work-life balance. So I found another department to go to. That's where I started my career with the Department of Social Services. They do incredible work. So lo and behold, here I am today. I would have never thought that I would have been in this high level of a position. So I feel very fortunate, but a lot of that had to do with a lot of the mentors that I was around, and certainly the work that I love to do. So with that said, I want to talk to you a little bit about what CalHR does. Christine touched on it a little bit. Well, we have a pretty tough job. We want to become a trusted advisor and a strategic partner to the public. And believe me, CalHR touches the public all the time. When you apply for a job, you're applying to through CalHR. Okay, that's the platform that we own. Vision, obviously shaping California's future of public service excellence with fair, equitable employment opportunities and a diverse, engaged workforce. We certainly are pushing forward. Most of you have seen what the governor has said. We want to infuse diversity into the state of California, which I believe we have. Let's see here. Here we go. Okay, so I won't go over this too much, but we were established in July 1 of 2012. A little bit of background, Governor Brown actually reorganized the organization. So we partner with the State Personnel Board, and then there's CalHR. Again, we oversee matters related to employees' salaries and benefits, job classifications, which are very broad, civil rights training and exams, recruitment and retention. And a lot of the negotiations for raises and the things that we do and the benefits that are provided are through the collective bargaining process. So we work with the unions very closely with them. So why do you think state government would be a good choice for you? There are so many opportunities at the state, I can't even begin to tell you, but focus is on serving people and communities for many departments. So if you're not quite sure what you want to do, but like a certain topic or thing, I would recommend that you go to each state department, and I can show you how to get to that, and look at their mission statement. What do they do? Is that something that is passionate to you? That would be a place to start. The state certainly has numerous mobility, career development, and advancement opportunities. I'm a subject of that. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, work-life balance, depending on what area you work in, a strong sense of professional community, and of course, I've got so many mentors that I've known throughout my career. It's really great to see them also come up when we all started kind of like at a very low level. Okay. This is huge, you guys. I know you probably, most of you probably don't care about this because I didn't when I was your age. A guaranteed retirement pension. What does that mean? Most of you have heard of 401ks and 457s. That money runs out. If you work for the state of California, you have guaranteed benefits for life, retirement benefits for life, depending on how long you work. Of course, if it's not a year, you have to be vested with the state in order for that to happen. I don't have to worry about my retirement. It is pre-calculated depending on the years and my age. Health, dental, and vision benefits. We've got one of the best health and dental vision packages out there. Talked about work-life balance. Telework is something new for the state of California, right? We all had to move this due to COVID, and now we're keeping it. Yes, some departments are going back to kind of 2 days a week, but believe me, that is an unprecedented change that I never thought in my lifetime I would see the state of California move towards. But we have proven that we are effective, and it's a great work-life balance. Employee assistance program, what that is mental health wellness. So you ever have any kind of mental health problems, you need to talk to someone. The state has programs for that. Of course, there's all kinds of training opportunities for you when you enter the state of California. I would have to say the state is very invested in their employees and want to see them grow and do better. And then I'm not going to run down through everything, but there's just an incredible amount of programs that are available. You can continue to save through college, through scholarship. There's even legal services that you can purchase that are really inexpensive. Okay, our compensation, it's not the best with private sector, right? But I mean, it's good. It's good. And we are somewhat competitive depending on what classifications they are. You get paid holidays, sick leave, vacations, family leave, and much, much more. We talked about benefits and retirement. Some organizations even have student loan forgiveness. I'll give you a perfect example. Currently, the budget has $14 million for the Department of State Hospitals. So if you're a psychologist working at Department of State Hospitals right now, and if you commit to a certain time frame to continue to work in that area and you have a loan, we will pay it off for you. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. Okay. They also have a lot of flexible schedules. So you'll hear terms, well, you probably haven't heard of them, but they're 9-8-80. So that means you work 9-hour days, and then you work 8-hour days the next week, and then you get 1 day off. So it'll come out to the total of like 80 hours. You have those opportunities. Entering at the journey level and then becoming a supervisor, if that's what you choose to do. Some have state housing, but that depends. That's usually going to be in the general services area. Okay. The state, in addition to having a retirement plan, they also offer 401k and 457 plans for you. So my message to you today is you need to kind of start planning now on what you want to do. I'm going to be going over what a lot of these terms mean, but you need to review class specifications, if I could say the word, for required knowledge and abilities. So this is where things get tricky. It is a little bit of work for you to do this, but if you really want to find the right fit for you and where you want to go in your life, you must do this type of work in order to figure out if it's a good fit. There's minimum qualifications for all these classifications. You do have to have certain qualifications. But some of them aren't as stringent as others. And then there's examinations. I don't want to freak you out on examinations. I'm not talking about SATs here or anything like that. Most of them are very simple exams that you can take online, where you pretty much say, here, how many years of experience do you have doing clerical work? How many years of experience do you have doing X? It's stuff like that. Very simplistic. Okay. So I'm going to kind of pause right here on the PowerPoint, because what I'd really like to do is take you through the main steps on how to apply. So let me see here what I wanted to do. The first thing you need to do, there's a couple of different steps. So you're going to hear terms like creating an online CalCareers account. So CalCareers is the platform that houses all the jobs that are available for the state of California. Okay. You need to search. You need to assess if the job fits for you. You need to apply. Okay. So those are the things that I want you to remember. I am not going to take you through creating the account yet. So what I want to do is I want to kind of show you how this works, okay? So this is where, please stop me if you have questions, or if you have any questions so far. I'm happy to take any questions right now. No? All right, so let's go for it. Okay, so I do need to move over, so let me see. Yep. All right. All right, let me see, I'm gonna turn this a little bit so I can see this. Okay, so here's your Cal Careers page. There's multiple ways you can search for jobs depending on what you're looking for. Once you get familiar with the state lingo, it'll be easier for you to start searching for jobs. So for example, a typical classification would be a staff services analyst, an associate governmental analyst. But I'll walk you through some of this stuff. So if you already know the title and the keyword search, you can type it in here. If you're not sure, let's scroll down a little. So let me go through the page first so I can kind of walk you through this. Okay. You can obviously do a variety of searches here. Geographic search, advanced job search would be something very specific that you're looking for, and an exams list. Since you're not familiar with the site, I wouldn't recommend that you start here. If you ever get lost on this website, you always want to go back to get a state job. That's the easiest way to, it'll reset you back to this page, okay? So again, search, assess, apply. We usually have some nice little banners that are coming down here. You'll see what certain departments are looking for. If that's of interest to you, you can just click on that. But what I want to do is take you through, and where is it now? I'm not seeing it. I am looking for job by, let me go back. See how that popped up, find by, okay, here we go. That's what I was looking for. Find jobs by industry. I think this is the place where you all should start. Okay, so I was going to go ahead and show you, because I figured most of you would fall under life and social sciences, physical. Anybody else want me to try something else in the audience, or we can start there? Yes.
Can you do legal? Is there anything for undergrad?
Sure, let's check that out. Okay, now there are some requirements, so let's go to legal. Now I didn't practice on legal, so this is going to be new for me here. Okay, let's go with legal support workers, right? Because here we're lawyers, judges. Most of the time you're going to need a certification here, right? So let's see what they have here. Now, this is where a little bit of work comes into play. What in heaven's name do all these classifications mean, right? You wouldn't know where you needed to apply. But if you wanted to, why don't we start off with like a legal analyst or legalist? Let's do a legal analyst. So the first thing you're going to need to do to see if you even qualify is you're going to go in here. You're going to click on this. And it's going to pull up. You can continue to refine if you want to, but if you keep scrolling down, look at all of these jobs for legal analysts. It tells you the department. It tells you job control is very important when you apply, because it tells the state, okay, they want to apply for a legal analyst in this area. So it's tied to a job control number. So just remember that. The salary range. I want to be very careful with this, okay? When you enter the state of California, you're always going to enter at the bottom step. There are extenuating circumstances where you can kind of maybe go to the second step, but there are parameters to that, and they're not always very easy to qualify for when you're coming out from non-state service. So I want to be clear on that, because I think a lot of individuals get confused and say, oh, I can apply and I can ask for the top range. No, it does not work that way. What this does mean, though, is once you get into the state and you start at the bottom step, you get 5% every year if you pass probation, and ultimately the job will pay this amount, okay? Work type, schedule, permanent, full-time. Now, if you want to go and check out the department to see if you even align with the mission, you could do that as well before you even apply. So this one is of interest. Let's click on this and let's see where we go. Okay, here's the job posting. here's where you need to kind of look at this carefully and say, okay, here's this final filing date until filled. Some of them are going to have a date. Some of them are going to say until filled. So what does until filled mean? Give me an idea. What do you guys think?
Until someone is found for the position.
Yes, perfect. Yes, exactly. Until someone is found. So this could be out there for a while. Okay. Again, here's your application methods, but I'll show you all of this. So job description and duties. And look how many, this advertisement will run until filled with the following cutoff dates. Not everybody has this. What this means is they pretty much take a grouping of that date and cut it off and look at that group, and then they'll do another cutoff and keep doing that. Okay. There's also something called a duty statement. A duty statement tells you how the duties that you're going to be performing by percentage. And I can go through that in a moment. This is where you need to go to. What are the minimum requirements for this job? Do I even qualify? Every job posting is going to have these things for you. So I'm going to click on the legal analyst. Okay. This is state mumbo jumbo you don't need to worry about, but what this is pretty much saying is they established this classification in 1981. They revised it in 2006, so they haven't changed much on this position. Okay. Definition, distinguishing characteristics, typical tasks. You can look at all of this, but where I would focus is what are your minimum qualifications? So let's see if you qualify for this job, and then you can go ahead and apply and we'll hire you. Okay. All right. So you need 2 years of experience in the California State Service performing the duties of a legal assistant. So the answer is no there, right? Education. And so you got to watch this. Here's an and. Education successful of 6 semester units of a paralegal or undergraduate legal courses. Or 2 years of experience performing paralegal duties in a law firm, corporate office, governmental or public law office, nonprofit, and so on. If you meet any one of these patterns, you can apply for the job. The other important piece is what knowledge and skills or abilities are they looking for? Okay, they want to make sure you can reason logically, accurately analyze situations, and so on. Sometimes they have additional desirable qualifications. In this case, they do evidence of continuing education, such as additional paralegal or legal coursework. So that is one example. Now I'm going to go ahead and take you back. And remember, I told you to go back to, now for some reason it's working a little differently here, but that's okay. State employees, or excuse me, you should go back to job seekers. It should take me back to the page we were at. Let's see if it does. Yeah, here we go. Back to get a state job again. Okay. All right, let me make sure I covered everything. So now, does anybody else want to try another job? I'm going to try an analyst position because it's probably going to be more typical. And I'm going to use another different type of search function. Instead of doing by industry, we're going to go ahead and type analyst. Okay. Hope I typed it right. See, if I didn't type it right, it corrects you, which is great. I'm going to hit search. Okay, now these are the terminologies that I was kind of talking about, right? It says Associate Governmental Program Analyst. Again, how do you know if you should apply for an Associate Governmental Program Analyst? Look at, there's Fiscal Analyst. There's all kinds of different types. If you're in IT, so I'm going to pull up IT just to see what the qualifications are. Same process, right? Now, this is the Employment Development Department. All the job duties and descriptions. The first thing I would do is run to these minimum qualifications. Now, this one here has Information Technology Specialist 1 and Information Technology Associate. It's like, well, I didn't ask for that, did I? What it's telling you is you can move. So once this is your entry level, and then this is another level that you can eventually go to. It shows you the career ladder, and I just knocked this over. Oh, it's good. Nope, I messed something up. Yep. You might as well take that tape off, because I'm gonna kill myself on the
So
tape.
good.
Monica, we have a question over here.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No
I was just wondering, at some point you could show or talk about internship opportunities. I think a lot of us might be undergrads not graduating yet.
Yes, yes.
How serious are these requirements also? Like if I had a paralegal certificate, but every single paralegal job wants me to have 4 years of paralegal experience and no one wants to hire someone with just a certificate, how scrappy can we be?
You have to follow the minimum qualifications. Yep. Yeah. But good point. So let's see, where are we here? Okay.
So just
Back
briefly,
to, yes, go ahead.
I'm gonna ask, since there's so many wonderful people in the room, but just so that folks that are remote attending can hear, that if you do have questions, to use this wireless mic, it's already turned on and with the green light. And just so that the recording, we are recording this, so that if folks are not able to attend, that they can hear your valuable questions. Thank you.
The state doesn't have too many internship programs. They do, but you're not gonna find them on CalCareers. But what you will find are student assistant jobs that will also kind of get you in the door, and you can actually do a search for student assistants. So while you're still going to school, you can go ahead and apply for a state job, and it's like a seasonal worker. You just get the experience. What's nice about being a state student is you accrue, you're like a real employee. You still get sick leave, you still get your benefits, and you also get credit in your retirement time. So it counts. Yes. You might want to pass the mic there. I have a question in the back of the room. There we go. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Luca. Hi.
Okay,
There you go.
this is kind of like from earlier, about student loan forgiveness.
Mhm.
I wanted to ask, is it just with student loan forgiveness or also like, let's say a graduate level, like loan or law school loan, or
Mhm.
does it matter? Does it depend on the job?
So it depends on the job, and what I have seen so far, it's mostly in the health area, right? Because they're trying to get nurses, doctors, all kinds of individuals in the medical field. But if you are interested, you don't even have to be a state employee to qualify for those loans and grants. If you go to the Healthcare Access and Information website, that is what this department does solely. They offer grants to repay scholarships and loans for people that are working in the medical field in return for 5 years of employment in an underserved area. It's an incredible program. I wish I would have known about that when I was younger. I would have steered myself to the health side. There any other questions so far? Yes.
My question is, do you have any tips, keywords, recommendations for finding entry-level positions that don't depend on previous governmental work? Aside from just brute forcing it and reading through hundreds of these things.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't agree with you more. So let's go back. I love that. I'm gonna go back to get a state job. So this is what we talked about. I'm gonna make it simple. It cooperates with me. There we go. So let's take a peek at advanced job search. I haven't even kind of touched base yet. Remember, the other thing you need to remember is you have to take an exam for every single position. We haven't covered that yet, but I will. Okay, this is what we were talking about, keyword search. Okay, throw something at me. A skill.
Social survey,
Social survey.
serving. It sounded like you wanted a verb, so.
Let's try it. Let's see what comes up. Okay, nothing. Let's do social services. How about that? That's probably more likely it will come up. Okay, so it's pulling up everything that has that terminology in it. You can see this associate governmental program analyst popped up again. This is where I really think staff services analyst and associate governmental program analyst is really a really good way to start. Okay. There's this general auditor, 3, but that's highly unlikely. But look, graduate student assistant. What is that about? Why don't we take a look at that? So the Department of Rehab is asking for a graduate student. It's in Richmond. It tells you a little bit more about the job and what you're doing. Okay, working conditions, it offers telework. Minimum requirements for a graduate student assistant. Let's take a look at that, because remember, that's the first thing you're going to want to do. And again, it pulls up these specs. Let's just go right to the meat of this. So minimum qualifications, registration as a graduate student in a college or university of recognized standing. There you go. You can start there. But what is this job about, right? So let's go back. Let's see if this job is even of interest to you. So what you would do is you'd go to the duty statement. This is where the duty statement will tell you all about the job. So let's click on that. All right. We'll try it again. Does it not like it?
It's downloaded, the little arrow in the corner. Downloaded the
Yeah.
Uh-huh, it's a PDF, yes. Do you want to go with it? Oh, right there.
To the left.
one.
Oh. Thank you. Oh, okay. Make sure you have good internet when you're doing this stuff. Okay, perfect, thank you. All right. Okay, so this one here, it describes what the job is, okay?
Sorry.
Under close supervision, the graduate student assistant initially assists one or more senior vocational rehab counselors to determine vocational rehabilitation potential and eligibility for service of individuals with disabilities. So it even tells you, you have to work 22 hours per week in a trainee capacity. You receive training and gain practical experience from observing and assisting. Let's look at the essential job functions. Here's the percentages I was kind of talking about. You're going to collect information necessary to determine, anyway, I won't go through this, but you get the gist, okay? The duty statement is what kind of tells you exactly what the job is about. Let me get out of here. Hopefully I won't mess this up. Let's see if I can go back. Out of this. Thank you. Oh, God, I'm so not used to on that, that's why. Oh, okay. Should I? Yep, I can wrap it up, yeah, well, I need more time with you guys, I'm sorry. Well, let me go through this really quickly. Nope, I'm in here, let's see, okay. So, one of the things that I didn't get a chance to do is the apply now. It does not like me, does it? There we go. And that even said it's a non-testing classification, so that was not a good example. I'm so sorry. Let me go back to get a state job. We'll do this really fast, you guys, sorry. Let me go to an analyst position again. I just wanted there is a PowerPoint available with all of this stuff that I've gone over and some of the more detail, but for the sake of time, if you like the job, you see the duty statement, you've done the minimum qualifications, you want to apply for the job. This screen will actually tell you, do I need eligibility? I want to obtain eligibility. How do I do this? I don't know. If you select one of those things, it'll allow you to apply for the job. So eligibility, what does that mean? That means you've taken the exam. I want to obtain eligibility. You go here again, and then it takes you through the examination process. So read this, and it tells you it's an open exam, and it walks you through exactly what you need to do on how to take the exam. Okay, so the one things I want you to remember is search, assess, take the exam, apply for the job. You can actually apply for the job and take the exam concurrently. You don't have to do one before the other, okay? So let's go back to my PowerPoint. Let's go to the presenter view. Yay, okay, let me get to the other slides. We'll just skip through this because this tells you how to do all of this stuff. How can I easily move through the slides? Here we go. So it takes you, one of the things you have to do that I didn't get a chance to go over is you must have a CalCareers account. A CalCareers account allows you to upload your job applications, house your resumes. You can save jobs there. As you go through and start searching, you can actually do a little asterisk and save them. So just so you're aware of that, this will take you through all of that. We'll go through this. We talked about you taking the assessment. Okay, you can also get veterans points. I just wanted to share that with you, or even there's a limited examination and appointment. This is for people with disabilities. You have to be registered, but once you're registered with the Department of Rehabilitation and certified, you can apply for these jobs. Okay, we talked about the assessment. We went through the exam piece a little bit. This has all this information for you. Okay, and then applying for the job. There is a piece here on completing your application. So the state does have a specific form you have to use. Once you have everything filled out, you can just apply now, but you have to have a CalCareers account set up, okay? So review the job bulletins carefully. The job bulletins will have all the information that you need. Duty statements are very important for you to see if the job even applies. And then, of course, look at your class spec and minimum qualifications, okay? Here's again, just a little checklist on things you need to look at. And again, class specs, minimum qualifications, just giving you some examples. Tips for applying. Let me go back here really quickly. Again, just make sure you don't do standard blasts. What I mean by that is what the state sometimes receives is it's the same resume, same application. Sometimes people don't update things for the job. So depending on the job that you're applying for, you want to make sure to tailor your experience to that. Why would you include clerical if they're not looking for clerical experience? You don't need to add that if you don't have to. Focus on what the requirements are, and that's how you should focus your resumes, duty statements. The other thing I wanted to warn you about is a lot of state departments need statement of qualifications. Does anyone know what that really means? So as you're looking at the job bulletin, it will say an SOQ is required. They have specific instructions. Some of them want you to answer questions, answer the questions. If you don't have anything to say, it's probably not the job for you. But a lot of times we get people that do not fill out the statement of qualifications correctly. They don't answer the responses. You are kicked out immediately. So please keep that in mind. And I am sorry, Christine, let me see what else I can run through here. Again, networking is very important. Builds your communication skills, you know, it creates job opportunities. Access to additional resources prepares you for your future career. So network. You can do a lot of that on LinkedIn. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with that. Okay, here's some other hints. Attending job fairs obviously is huge. You will see Work for California. Work for California are big collaborative events with various departments that have a lot of state jobs. CalHR is going to be also doing some on-site to help you with this application process, which can be fairly cumbersome. Okay, I'll just quickly wrap it up. State government offers incredible rewards, benefits, work-life balance. So remember, please start looking and thinking about your career and where you want to go now. And I think in a nutshell, I think that's it.
Great. Okay, we'll have an opportunity for more questions in a bit. Thank you so much. Because now we want to move towards the panel discussion part of this event and give you an opportunity to hear from Cal alums who were both in state government and also at the local level. So I'm going to introduce our speakers and invite you to come forward. Our first speaker, can you get us Linda? Is Linda Young. She's joining us remotely today. She currently serves as the Executive Director of the Leadership Development Program for the City and County of San Francisco's Department of Human Resources. Before this, she served as the Unified Computer and Logistics Chief for the city's COVID-19 Command Center. She has more than 3 decades of government experience, most of it, it seems like in San Francisco, but also experience working in LA and also in Washington, DC at the Office of US Trade Representative. So a wide range of experiences. She's a Cal alum. She actually was awarded the Department of Political Sciences Citation Award. She was a John Gardner Fellow, which is another program based here at IGS that I can tell you about later. And welcome, Linda. I think I'm going to introduce you one at a time and give our speaker a chance to share a little bit about their journey and advice they might have for you. And then we'll have a general discussion if that works well. So Linda, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say thanks to Christine and IGS for inviting me. Am I coming through clear?
Yes, great.
Perfect. Okay. So let me just quickly, I have 5 to 8 minutes to share my career journey with you, but also talk a little bit about the succession crisis and some tips for you. So when I was a senior at Cal, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I knew I wanted to do a master's degree. So I had a poli-sci Chinese double major. I applied to Yale and the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy. But at the same time, because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, I applied for the John Gardner Fellowship. So if anyone doesn't know what that is, it's a public service fellowship that puts you in the field of your interests with a mentor of your choice. My assignment was working at the White House doing trade negotiations, and I was the deputy director for Taiwan and Korea. When I did that fellowship, it kind of cemented for me that I was more of a practitioner than an academician. I found out that I didn't want to teach. I didn't want to do more research. So as a result of that, I ended up going to the Fletcher School. And if anyone's interested in anything I speak about, Christine can put you in touch with me with my email so you can follow up with individual questions. But at the U.S. Trade Representative, I did trade negotiations on behalf of the U.S. government with Taiwan and Korea. And we focused not just about opening markets, but about intellectual property rights and labor rights. Sorry, can you guys hear that? Hold on. Call from Spectrum. Sorry. Okay. So after USTR, I did my fellowship at the White House. I decided after the fellowship that I wanted to come back to California. So if you've done any kind of public affairs fellowship like Coro, because again, I didn't know what I want to do. So Coro will put you in a government position, a nonprofit position, a for-profit position, campaign work, and consulting. And it's a great networking opportunity for you to kind of figure out who you are and where you want to work eventually. During my Coro experience, if you guys can remember 1992, it was the riots in LA, and I was working for Mayor Tom Bradley. And that experience changed my perspective about doing international trade work and doing local economic development. So part of my advice to you is just be open to the opportunities that are in front of you. As much as you think you're studying for one thing, life may throw you a curveball, and then you just got to go with it. In my 20s and 30s, I ended up working for-profit Southern California Edison. I did nonprofit work. I did campaign work. And what it taught me was that as long as I was serving the public in some capacity, as long as I was constantly learning and that I was working for a group of people that I really respected, that kind of helped me because I, in the end, found out I'm a generalist. So getting a job at the city and county of San Francisco was ideal for me. So think of the jobs that, Monica mentioned at the state. Those things are very much also at the local level. So if you live in Contra Costa County, look at their website. If you live in the city of Berkeley, look at their website. But for City and County San Francisco, we're a $14 billion enterprise. We have over 40, 50 city departments, everything from, Muni, who helps run our trains, to animal care and control, who take care of our animals, to, county clerk, medical examiner's office. So I'm glad I'm following Monica, because what she showed you in terms of job classifications are pretty much what happens like at the City and County of San Francisco. One thing you should learn is it takes a while to get a job at the city. It could take you 6 to 7 months, so be patient. First thing I would recommend is talk to someone who already works there, because they can explain the acronyms, they can explain the job classifications, and also within the job classification, what are the career paths within that organization? So at the City and County San Francisco, this is my 5th city department. I started in the controller's office. I kind of see myself more like in my career, like at first being an individual contributor. Like I was a very strong analyst. I could write reports, I give presentations. But as I progressed in my career, I ended up managing others. So managing analysts. I became a director of a division or programs. The highest I got to was being deputy city administrator for Ed Lee, who eventually became mayor. And under that position, I'll have to talk about when you think of these careers, you're really not sure what are those accomplishments or opportunities that will be presented to you. So for me as deputy city administrator, I was so lucky when the Supreme Court overturned the Defense of Marriage Act to be there to arrange same-sex marriages. Like over a 3-day period, we ended up issuing 563 marriage licenses, and we had 469 couples that were married within a 3-day period. That to me is public service. You are given these opportunities, and some people could see these opportunities as kind of crisis situations because there's so much thrown at you. But I think with a positive attitude and with the right team, you can turn these kind of crisis situations into opportunities. And that in the end, you're serving the public and you have the public trust. The other thing that I'm very proud of is San Franciscans can now apply for flood insurance. And that was something before I and a team of people worked on it. San Francisco was not enrolled in the FEMA program. So again, under Ed Lee's leadership, he had asked me to do that. So again, it's one of these things where it's pretty simple services that we want to deliver to the public. But unless you're in those positions, learn how city government operates, find the right people, including mentors who will help you. For me, there's been no downside to working in city government. So I went from the controller's office to being deputy city administrator. I worked at the airport. I've worked at the COVID command center. And then now what I'm doing is leadership development. And this is something I really want to, is really close to my heart, which is the city is investing time in developing leaders so that whether you're an analyst or a director of a program or a deputy director of a department, we want you to take the time to think about your leadership journey. Who are you as a leader? What are the things that we could help you grow in, whether it's communication skills or change management skills? So I'm lucky enough now to work in that space. The other thing I want to talk to is similar to what Monica said. Please write this down if you're interested, is go to the website careers.sf.gov. That's the city's human resources department. And like what Monica showed you, you can see job opportunities, career paths, citywide, as well as department specific jobs. And when Monica mentioned this whole vacancy crisis, I am one of those people. Like at one point I decided that between work and life, I have certain responsibilities. My mom's 93 years old. My mother-in-law is 89. There are things that I I really value at this stage in my life. And so I ended up retiring and coming back as a retiree doing my current job. So there's so many things that you have to balance for yourself. And right now, maybe you can do 50, 60 hours or whatever at a job. But at some point, if you're at that stage where you're thinking of having a family or having kids, city government jobs are wonderful for that because there's so many benefits to that. When Monica mentioned classifications, you're going to have to learn a whole new language. I'm just going to say it, which is in the city, the classifications are like 4-digit codes. So the entry level jobs in the city and county are things like the 1820 analyst jobs. They're the 1840. So sorry, I'm forgetting the word right offhand. But there's the 1803s that are analysts in the controller's office. If you're interested in human resources, they're the 1240s. So again, it's one of these things where you're looking at organization, talk to someone who's on the inside so we can explain to you what exactly is a great way to enter. Someone had asked about internships, and City and County has the Fellows Program. We have 29 fellows this year. They're placed throughout the city at Muni, at the airport, at Department of Public Health. And those fellowships are not only great because they teach you a skill set, but they're also orienting you. And they have classes where they bring presenters to come in to talk to you about how the city government's budget works, human resources work. So whatever organization you're interested in, look for those key words like fellowships and internships. I want to be respectful of time. So can I just ask quickly, Christine, should I pause here and answer the other questions about tips in the Q&A?
Let's do that. Thank you very, very much, Linda. That was terrific. Thank you. So our next speaker is Vivian Nguyen Pearson. She is a government administration professional with 7 years of experience in local government and emergency response management. She is currently a division manager with the city of Santa Cruz, where she manages the planning and community development departments, budget and administration. And before that, she was a compliance manager for the city of San Jose's rent control program and helped develop the city's first tenant protection ordinance and eviction moratorium policies. Come on forward, Vivian, and thank you so much for being with us. She's also a Cal alum and with a BA in political science in 2015. Do you want to share a little bit about your journey and advice you might have for our students?
Okay. Well, first of all, go Bears. I am always so excited to come back to Cal and outside of a football scope because now my husband has football tickets. So we go, we're like, we're coming back here this Saturday. So I'm going to keep it very brief. So my name is Vivian Nguyen Pearson, and I graduated Cal in 2015, which is crazy because it's like 8 years ago and it just like flies by so fast. So I wanted to kind of share a recap. I think everyone in the room, quick temperature check, freshman, sophomore, junior. Okay, some seniors. Okay, great, wonderful. I got tips for you and all students. All right, so I'll just start off first, having graduated from Cal. So I would say the first phase of my career is just really focusing on getting the right opportunities. I wanted to share with you a couple ones as you're preparing to launch into your career while a student at Cal. The first one is PPIA, the Public Policy and International Affairs Program. So that gets you launched into graduate school. So they have a lot of partnership programs. You should apply to the program. I was a PPI fellow. And so that was a huge decision for me of when I just wanted to decide to go to graduate program. Because when you're in graduate school, you get hit with a lot of loans. So that is an option for you to be able to do that. I got accepted to the Goldman School of Public Policy. I was super excited, but I decided to work and go to school at night school, which is something I never thought I would do, but ended up saving me a whole lot of money. So I would say I went to, while I was working for the city of San Jose, I went to the evening program at San Jose State and was able to get my master's at the same time, which really helped me advance to becoming a manager a little bit earlier than some of my peers who generally programs are 2 to 3 years. So I went to the public administration program and graduated with no debt, which I'm super excited about. Which then leads me to my second phase of recommendations, is kind of establishing your network and career. When I was job hunting, there's lots of different sites that you can use, obviously, which jurisdiction. CalOps was actually my favorite. It's CALOPPS. Because you can filter it for entry level positions. So I was constantly getting notifications, and then that was the quickest way that I actually found and the best like filtering service. Obviously there's LinkedIn, but I always found that LinkedIn posts were a little bit more convoluted for alerts, and it would like send me alerts from all over this place. So CalOps is what I focused on. All right, so then you also have different networks that you can join. So through CalOps is actually how I found my work with the city of San Jose. And then also, I would recommend different leadership programs to join to build your professional network, because obviously you have your school network and now you need to do your professional. So I did New Leaders Council and I loved it because it was very localized. So NLC, they have different chapters. So if you're be closer to Silicon Valley, they also have the Oakland chapter. So I built my network from there, really enjoyed it, made some really great friends who also told me about different job opportunities. So that's the second phase of really settling down, getting your master's degree or whatever degree you want to do, and getting that entry level analyst job, and finding entry level. So I use CalOps. Now the third phase is getting really settled into your career. So I met my husband online, and he's also a Cal Bear, but we didn't meet while we were here. And I don't know if you ever thought that you would leave your like where you live for your husband, but I did that and I never thought I would. But I moved to Santa Cruz, so that's why now I work for the city of Santa Cruz. And I think I saw a legal question here because he's an attorney. And then you also want to be thinking about like, where do you want to settle down? Like, where do you want to buy a home? So we bought a home in Santa Cruz, but something they don't tell you is when you marry an attorney, you marry debt. So he's in the public service sector. So he's going through the public service forgiveness program. But that's something that you don't think about when you're a freshman, sophomore, junior. So there you go, life tip for you there. And then lastly, it's just the opportunity to become a manager and giving it forward. So that's my fourth phase of recommendation, is that if you have a chance, do mentor other students. We have the Schaefer Fellow. So Daniel, if you're on the line, hi Daniel. So he came, he was hosted at the city of Santa Cruz. So it's just been so wonderful being able to come back to Cal and hosting students and coming back to IGS. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And then our last panelist is Allison Velez. She is a recent graduate of Cal. She participated in our CalInsec program, as did Vivian. She is currently an associate government program analyst with the Office of Legislative Affairs at the California Health and Human Services Agency, which oversees 12 state departments and 5 offices that support California's most vulnerable communities. She got a BA in public health in 2022. She was a John Gardner Public Service Fellow, and she can tell us a little bit about that, which got her experience at the Department of Health and Human Services and led to this position that she currently holds. So please join me in welcoming Allison.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Like Christine said, my name's Allison. I graduated 2022. I'm like trying to think of like what would be most helpful to all of you. I think a little bit of background about me first. I often like to say that I didn't really pick policy. It just kind of picked me. It was very natural. I grew up in Orange County, and for those of you who don't know, that's like a very predominantly wealthy area of California. I, however, grew up in a low-income immigrant household, so I had a very different experience than most of my friends growing up. And I think just growing up, like seeing inequities play out day to day, it just really sparked something inside me. So when I got here to Berkeley, I had a very quick stint of like trying to like go to medical school. Quickly learned that was not for me, and I found the CalInsec fellowship here, and it just kind of felt natural ever since then. I know someone asked about internships and things you could do kind of now as a student to kind of try and figure out what you want to do when you graduate. My first internship through CalInsec was at the California Department of Public Health. It was the first time I had ever done anything policy related. I had no idea what I was doing. I was working in the maternal and child health division. I didn't know anything about that, but I learned it over the course of the summer. And more importantly, I learned that public service was something that I was really interested in post graduation. So I ended up coming back and doing CalInSAC for a second year. And I did a second placement at the Governor's Office of Planning and Research. That probably sounds like a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo to you. Probably doesn't like mean anything, but I learned a little bit about budgets and kind of how the state allocates money to different programs across the state that are, you know, seeking to uplift vulnerable communities. So again, very different perspective. My degree was in public health. I didn't know anything about budgets. I didn't think that like anything econ related was something I wanted to do, but I really liked it yet again. So in my senior year, this is a plug to all of you who are graduating soon or, you know, in the next year, I applied to the John Gardner Public Service Fellowship. Linda is also a fellow, but the fellowship was great. It is very open to whatever your interests are. So in my case, I knew I really liked Sacramento. I really enjoyed my time at the Department of Public Health and I wanted to keep doing that. So after I was selected for the fellowship, I kind of tapped into all my Sacramento networks and I ended up at the California Health and Human Services Agency. So for those of you who maybe don't know much about it, we oversee various departments. So like the Department of Public Health, the Department of Social Services, they have various programs within them that we oversee. I personally work on the legislative team. So if there's a bill going through the legislature, I'm analyzing it, doing all the whatnots behind the scenes to make sure that we can implement it. But yeah, all that to say, it was kind of one step at a time. I didn't have this master plan when I was in undergrad. Started with one thing, led to another, and now I'm here, which I think is very natural. A whole bunch of my friends who also graduated 2022 were kind of in that same boat. And that whole presentation on CalHR, it was fabulous. I just went through that process. It is a lot. So if you have any questions, I can also kind of give you my perspective as someone who sent in felt like hundreds of applications, but it wasn't. But yeah.
Thank you. Monica, would you like to come up at the table? And I want to reserve as much time as we can for questions from all of you, but maybe we can just start this off. Monica mentioned mentorship. Linda mentioned mentorship. I wonder if you all can say a little bit more about how important mentorship has been in your journey, in your career advancement, and how did you seek it out and secure it? If you have any tips around that.
I think I'm sorry. Mentorship is so important. Again, not only just the mentorship that you're going to seek to help you try to find these jobs, right? But when you get there, I've always been told, you know, find yourself a trusted partner or a friend at work. These are the people that will guide you. I would say in my experience, I've had many mentors throughout my career, and it's really just you observing and being the best you at your job. Listening and taking the feedback is crucial for your career. If you can learn to take constructive criticism and pay attention to these mentors that are there. They mentor you every day. You're always assigned a supervisor who will guide you and help you and take training. If it wasn't for these mentors where, like one of you said, I didn't pick budgets, budgets picked me. And it really was this mentor telling me, yeah, you can apply for that job. Go ahead. I'll help you through it. There's incredible mentorship at the state of California. Again, they are the reason why I am at the position I am today.
I can speak a little bit about mentorship. So Linda touched on it briefly. The Gardner Fellowship pairs you with a senior level mentor, whatever that means in the particular field that you have chosen. So I personally received, you know, like on paper, this person was my mentor. We were meeting every week. They were doing everything they could to help me get to the next position after that. But I will also say, just kind of a plug for fellowships in general. There's many, there's the SF Fellows, the Choral Fellows, the Capital Fellows, there's so many. I think when you have that title of fellow, people are honestly like fighting over each other. Like they want to talk to you, they want you to come to their organization. And when you're a fellow, you have a lot of flexibility and, you know, like, oh, I don't really know anything about budget, but you know, this one person reached out to me because I'm a fellow, they want to mentor me in any sense. I think it's just like coming at you from all angles. So I would definitely just push you all to look into fellowships if mentorship is big to you, because it should be. There are a lot of people, I can only speak to Sacramento, but there are a lot of people in the Sacramento community who are really eager to, you know, have people fresh out of undergrad, just people passionate about public service. Like Christine said at the beginning of kind of this whole meeting, we don't have a whole bunch of young people in public service. So when you know, someone does come around, we're really excited about that. We want to foster your interest in public service, and we want to do everything we can to ensure that you are going to you know, dedicate yourself to uplifting vulnerable communities, which is kind of the whole goal of public service at the end of the day.
And I would like to add the secret to mentorship as well for me was coffee or boba runs. And so I think it really just relaxes you and the other person. And go on the Outlook calendar. It's, well, I don't know if you guys use Outlook yet, but you look at their schedule and find an open spot and you just book it. And you know, I think that's been the most effective way for me, is just having a casual conversation. And honestly, in my role in the city of San Jose, was a much larger organization, and that's something for you to think about too. What kind of level of organization do you want to be in? With San Jose, I kind of felt like the small fish in the sea, and then in Santa Cruz, it is so small. Everyone knows each other. It is crazy, and so it just gave it makes it a lot easier if you know people to having gone to coffee with them first, buy their coffee, and then eventually they'll just keep buying your subsequent ones. So milk it and have your coffee appointments. They are very effective.
Linda, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think for those who are wondering, why would someone mentor you? Let me give you the perspective of someone who's mentored is you guys, it's what Christine said at the beginning. You guys are full of energy, full of good ideas. You're hardworking, you're analytical. We're looking to bring you into our organization so that you become the future leaders of our organization. So don't be shy about asking for a coffee or asking for a boba run, because you're feeding our souls. I mean that, like having coffee with you re-energizes me, and it reminds me of why I'm in public service. So don't be shy.
All right, let's question from
So I'm just gonna talk really loud.
okay.
Question from Christopher Heredia. I apologize if I mispronounce your last name. How does one go about finding a mentor before an application?
I would say, for example, if you're applying to the state of California, I'm sure you can ask around, somebody knows somebody who works for the state of California. So if you are interested in applying and how to figure that out, that's always a good way to start. Hopefully that answers your question.
I'll go. So first year out of Berkeley, I was recruited to work at Oracle, where I was trained to work with LinkedIn sales navigation. The secret is LinkedIn, because if you do, go look at the organization that you want to work for, that you're interested in applying for, and look how many people work there, and then just like backtrack your networks, and somewhere someone will have a connection. So what I've done is there's a second connection somewhere. I'm like, hey, Emily, can you introduce me to like so-and-so, because they directly work there. So that's been super effective for me to get a soft opening using LinkedIn to let them know I'm interested for an opportunity.
I think this is just general tip. As a student, definitely after you graduate, you have to advocate for yourself, especially like once you're gone from here. No one is gonna be like, oh, like, you know, like, do you want to come into this? You have to like, you know, stick your foot out and like figure out how you're gonna make it happen for yourself. So when that comes to finding a mentor, honestly, like, just go on LinkedIn. If you see someone that has the position you want, or they're in the field you want, maybe you don't have a connection with them, just honestly, like, cold email or like cold message them, like, hey, you know, I found you on this LinkedIn search. I'm really interested in this. Would love to have a virtual coffee chat or like an in-person coffee chat if you're available. I think you'd be surprised how many people are willing to help someone that they do not know at all. Another thing is, you have built this great network here at Berkeley as a student. So maybe you don't know someone who's in this position or in this program that you're interested in, but by asking around, you can find someone. So for, say, I don't know, you want to do the John Gardner Fellowship, but you don't know anyone who's done it. Oh, well, Christine knows about the John Gardner Fellowship and she knows a whole bunch of alums. So, you know, you just gotta ask around, and eventually it will fall into place.
I agree, and I'll just add that one thing that's just struck me throughout my work here at IGS is how passionate Cal alums are about undergraduates here. And so we know a lot of Cal alums, but if you're using LinkedIn and you see that someone went to UC Berkeley, even if it's a long time ago, trust me, they're going to want to help you. I've seen it happen over and over again. Are there other questions? Yes.
As would you mention?
Oh.
Oh, right behind you, but you can be next.
So I was wondering, so as a senior, I'm kind of looking at, like, I was just taking a quick look at the fellowships and stuff offered, and a lot of the deadlines have passed. So I can't really, you know, get my foot in that specific moment, but I'm wondering if I am looking for opportunities as a senior going into my spring semester, or in general going into fellowships. How can I, you know, apply to these things and make myself, I guess, appealing or stand out amongst other applicants as well?
That's a great question. Are you interested in local positions at the local level or state level?
I'm interested more in local.
Local? Okay. Linda, what do you think? Can you answer that?
Yeah, I guess, first of all, know where you want to work, right? Like for me, I was willing to travel an hour and a half to work for the airport, right? So think of the geography that you're interested in, and you actually do have to hit all these websites. So the beauty of public service is all of our departments have websites. You can actually see the commission, you can see the human resources department. And I'm sorry, I always tell people looking for a job is a full-time job. It takes time for you to schedule, like time to go on websites, follow up with emails. So I try to think a year in advance, if you can, about where do you think you'll be in a year? And then I look at the organizations that I'm interested in. I actually create a spreadsheet about, you know, these are the 5 organizations, these are the potential jobs that I'm interested in. And then in advance, I try to find people, and I do a lot of cold calling. So don't look backwards. Don't feel bad about the opportunities you missed. Just keep looking forward, right? And some of these you should look at them as, okay, I might have missed it this year, but it's going to reopen next year. So if you're a sophomore, junior, that's another chance. And maybe you're a senior looking into, you know, going into grad school. Some of these they don't end because you're a student. Sometimes like the fellows program, they allow you to graduate and there's still like a 1 to 2 year window before you're not eligible. Does that make sense?
I also want to add that there are tremendous benefits to fellowship programs, but I think you're ready for a job in local government. Like, you don't have to do the fellowship. And one thing we've learned is that there is tremendous need at the local level and at the state level. So don't hold back. You have had this incredible experience here at Cal. You are prepared. You are ready to go. And you graduate in May. So you've got 8 months to find that job. So don't feel like you have to do a fellowship first. Other questions? Yeah, okay, you just pass it. There, and then your turn.
Hi.
Oh, okay, I guess it's your turn now. And then it'll be your turn.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
I just asked the question about the local and like county. Like, do they have the same examination like the state of California? Like, do they like the follow, like I learned so many information from the state of California. So how about the local and how they like the qualification and
Great
examination?
Great question.
Great, I'll be happy to take that one. And my answer is like, it varies even between
Yes.
cities.
Yes.
So I was a hiring manager for the city of San Jose. And it was really interesting because the only testing requirement the city of San Jose had was for the administrative positions. So for those administrative positions, like a staff specialist, certain ones had to test into it. You do an Excel test, you do a writing test. Whereas if you were like a regular analyst, you didn't have to do testing, which is really interesting. Now, when I went to the city of Santa Cruz and did their hiring process, you had to be on a list. So there would be a list to open for a position, and you would apply to be on the list. You'd be screened on whether or not you meet the minimum qualifications. And if you didn't get selected, you would stay on the list for a year. And then they would come back to you if there was a vacancy. Like as that hiring manager, I would get the list of all the analysts. I could screen through, and if I liked anybody, I could pull them from the list. So it does vary between which position, but we don't have a minimum qualification like some of the state positions might have.
Thank you.
Great question.
I have a question, if that's okay. And this, I guess, is for Monica especially, but what I'm struck by in listening to your presentation and what all of you have shared, including Linda, is how not easy it is to figure out where the jobs are or what they mean, or is there any effort happening either at the local level or the state level to kind of revamp the job portals that are available? I get that there is transparency, which you underscored, and I appreciate that, where you know, the state is required to post that job and you know, what it pays and what the job requirements are, but navigating the 4-digit numbers that Linda mentioned, or figuring out what this analyst versus that analyst means, feels like a disincentive to want to engage in this process. And it feels like we kind of need something a little more accessible. Is there any effort at all to rethink how this works?
There absolutely is.
Okay.
Yes, we are looking at actually asking individuals that are applying for jobs, because I don't see a lack of applicants, but for some reason, we can't get them into the state. I do see a lot of comments on LinkedIn too, that one of the things I think the state needs to do better is, there's a few things that I'm thinking, but I hear that individuals apply and never hear back. And I think that's one of the most disincentivizing things for us, because that's not who we are, that's not how we want to be. But to put things in perspective, sometimes a manager will get 100 applications that they have to go through and screen. So what I think we as the state are making efforts, number one, to improve the website. I want to tell you that back in the day when I applied, you had to handwrite the application and walk it in. So the state's done some tremendous efforts to make things better, but of course there is tons of improvement that needs to happen. We do have, working groups. We're trying to fix search functions, just the display alone of the website, so it's not so scary. But the unfortunate part with the state is we have to follow the state constitution. It must be merit-based. So we have to put processes and procedures in place to make sure everyone has a fair opportunity to apply and to be considered for the job. The job specifications are part of that process. But can we make it easier? Absolutely. And yes, I agree with you. AGPA, what do all of those things mean? So what I did not get an opportunity to show you is the state is also kind of putting working title in the classification. So it hopefully resonates a little bit more with people from private sector, so they can understand what the job is all about. So, but yes, we are making some efforts, and please keep in mind, job fairs are your friend. When you go to those job fairs, there are people there that will help you apply and walk you through the process. And I mentioned earlier, CalHR is also making an effort to even go to high schools to kind of start building that pathway for high school students that might not have the opportunity to go to college and want to go ahead and get direct employment with the state. And we're doing that as well with obviously college students as well.
Okay. Last question, would you like to ask? Yeah.
My question it's a bit nebulous, but I wanted to ask, I know a lot of people fell into, for example, you said budgeting chose you, policy chose you, but I wanted to ask, were there any guiding values that led you to public service? And on the other end of achieving your careers, do you feel like the public service careers have met those values? Like what, in terms of service, what about the jobs makes you think this is serving the public and this is what I feel is rewarding? What does service mean to you and how is that rewarding in these government careers?
Oh, that's a beautiful question and
Yeah.
a great one to end on.
It
So let's
is.
go down the road.
Okay, great question. I will just say that for me, public service is rewarding in many ways. Our services impact the public. No matter what you do, whether you're in accounting, whether you're in budgets, whether you're running a program where you're awarding grants to individuals. I can just share with you that one of the social services who I worked for, I was the budget officer there. They have an area there called community care licensing. What they do is they send out individuals to ensure that regional care facilities for the elderly are in proper running order and that the individuals that run those follow safety guidelines. You probably don't care about that now, but I'll tell you what, my mom, she got placed eventually into one of these facilities. When I worked at social services, I thought it was a great thing, but I really didn't have the connection to it. When my mom reached that time in her life, they mistreated her. I knew the process to right away report that place, and CCL Community Care Licensing went in and took care of it. So a lot of the jobs in the state of California provide public service, and it is just incredible to see the results of that for me. And that's very rewarding.
I will say that I graduated very recently, right? So public service is still new to me. But every day when I go into work and, you know, whatever assignment I'm working on, the question I am asking myself is, I do legislation. So I'm like, does this bill expand access to people who need it? That's what I'm asking myself at the end of the day. A lot of my, you know, peers who graduated at the same time, they now work in the public sector. I don't think they're asking themselves that question. I think they're asking themselves other questions, which if that's your interest, you know, go for it. But I was drawn to public service because I just witnessed inequities growing up, and I'm really passionate about trying to address those. And I think that I am in a role now, albeit very entry level, but I am asking myself that question every day. Is this going to help someone else? Which is why I'm here.
Beautiful. Thank you.
That's really fun. Well, I'm 8 years in my career since graduating, and I realized although I'm only in my 8th year, my first 4 years were just like gung ho. I loved being out in the community, late night meetings, getting yelled at by the community, Parks and Rec, no problem. And that was where I found myself like most fulfilling, being out in the front, staffing like these community outreach events, meeting different people, networking after work. And I think that's where you're beginning your career. And now where I am with the city of Santa Cruz with my husband, I love coming home at 6 o'clock and having dinner and knowing that I do budget now as well, and just on the back end of things. And I find that now the back end is more rewarding for me in public service, knowing that I do different impacts, but on the back end and not so much in the front end. So at some point you'll find yourself in a different phase of what brings you happiness. And life just there's different opportunities at you, and it's okay to make transitions. Just make sure you're vested first. I was just telling Monica, 5 years, do not leave until after 5 years. Just find us a different job in a different department. If you hate your job, it's okay. But don't leave until 5 years, day one. I left 5 years, month one. just so that you can be vested into the retirement.
Thank you. Linda?
So let me give an example of someone who's thinking a legal career, because when you go in a legal career, you can go corporate, in which your clients are people who can pay you. When you enter the public service, you could work for the public defender. So that at the end of the day, you're helping people regardless of income, regardless of race, regardless of gender identity. We serve the public. When you need a service, we will deliver it to you. It's regardless of money and all the other stuff. And that's what's satisfying. It feels like, you know what, I'm just going to help everyone. I'm not just going to give to those people who can afford the services. And that's just something so satisfying at the end of the day.
Thank you. I hope that this event has been helpful to all of you. I'm sure you may have additional questions, and we have some drinks and food, and we invite you to stay and talk some more with our panelists and get your questions answered. As I think we mentioned, the deadlines are over for our public service programs for this coming year. But if you're a returning student, I encourage you to join our mailing list so that you're sure to get announcements about our internships and our other experiential programs, and can apply and participate in those in the coming years. I want to thank our wonderful panelists, all of you, for sharing your time, your expertise so generously with all of us. I also want to thank Ezra Bristow and Luca Marks, who helped organize this event and make it possible for all of us. And yeah, please stay around, ask your questions, and let us know how we can support you on your journeys. Thank you.
I do have some flyers up here, please, if you want to apply for the state. We have a QR code back there for you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So Marco was my mentor.
This worked out.